Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Hot Topics. I'm Lauren Serrato, Westmark's Special Events and Media Relations Coordinator. Today, we focus on workforce in the West Valley, wins, next step, and ongoing regional collaboration. Before we continue, I want to take a moment to thank a sponsor of our segment today, SRP. Without our sponsors, segments like this, our events, our talk series would not be possible. So, of course, thank you, SRP, and thank you to our sponsors in the past and in the future. So we are joined by a very impressive panel today, and I'm excited to hear from all of them. I'd like to start with my colleague, Kevin, first. So please introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Kevin Duncombe, and I am the Director of Regional Workforce Development with Westmark.
I'm Todd Sander, and I have the privilege of serving as Vice Provost at ASU's West Campus.
Hi, I'm Ken Chubb. I'm the Economic Development and Tourism Director for the City of Avondale.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, Kevin, I'll start with you. This webinar is essentially meant to be a check-in, a mid-year check-in of our West Valley pipeline. We are in year 5 of 5 of this strategy. Now, tell me, you've had the rare, unique experience of being part of this from day one. Tell me why something like this is necessary to come to fruition.
Sure. So to clarify, it's probably day 2. I think there was one meeting before I joined, but yes, I was with the planning of the West Valley Pipeline, or what becomes the West Valley Pipeline, since almost the very beginning. And the conversation goes back even before 2016, but it really came to a head in 2016 when the West Valley leaders, our mayors and our city managers and other West Valley constituents recognize that there's a huge brain drain that happens every morning in the West Valley, where so many of the West Valley residents would wake up in the morning, they would have breakfast, they'd kiss their spouse, hop in their car, and then travel east for work, because that's where the jobs are. So we could tell that because the I-10 is clogged. Right. So it takes 30 minutes to get from the 101 to the 17, and it's only a 10-mile drive. And the 60, the Grand Avenue, is a parking lot every morning, and then every afternoon when you drive home. So that's evidence that there is a workforce in the West Valley, but they're not finding the employment that meets their qualifications. So the West Valley mayors, the city managers, they all got together and said there needs to be something done to provide opportunities for our residents that would give them an opportunity to stay within our own community.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, Kevin, you explained the why. Can you break down for me the how? How was the West Valley Pipeline created?
Sure. And I do have a slide for this. And clicker stopped working. There we go. So the how starts with data, right? So we recognize just by looking at the I-10 just how big the problem is, but we wanted to verify that. So we did find a data consultant with Arizona State University, and then we validated that data with data from Maricopa Association of Governments. And what those two data sets told us is that there were up to 70% of the West Valley's professional workforce is traveling east for employment. They may be going to Central Phoenix, they may be going to Scottsdale or Chandler, but they're traveling east outside of the West Valley. So we started with that baseline, and then we convened a number of stakeholder groups, including commercial brokers, because they're the ones who are bringing new companies into the region, economic development. What do we want the West Valley to be? What do we want to be known as? Certainly our education system, because they are the ones who will be preparing our workforce, and business. We can have the best workforce development program in the world, but if business is not at the table and if they don't buy in, then it's going to be worthless. So we absolutely wanted to make sure that we had the voice of business to inform what should be in this strategy. We hired a consultant who did a fantastic job and found best practices across the country and brought a lot of ideas forward that we had not thought of. And at the end, we had a 270-page manual that boiled down to 9 key strategies that we call the West Valley Pipe. That was vetted with the stakeholders in the West Valley and ultimately approved by the Westmark Board of Directors. And we put it into implementation about mid-year of 2018. So as you mentioned at the beginning, we are now in year 5 of our 5-year strategy. We knew from the very beginning that workforce is an ongoing iteration, that we're not done. So what is going to be the evolution of the West Valley Pipeline strategy? And very excited to hear some wins with Dr. Sandrin, with Mr. Chapa, and some of the things that they're going to be able to share. And then what will be the next version of West Valley Pipeline moving forward.
Perfect, Kevin. Now, you mentioned the wins that you're excited to hear from Avondale and from ASU, but can you give us a sneak peek as to what the wins from the pipeline exactly are? So success.
I think that it has been successful, and it's not just words on a document. I think we can show that just with the growth of the industries within the West Valley. So over the last 5 years, we've had a tremendous increase in the number of manufacturing companies, a tremendous increase in our technology startups. I think we started with one, and now we're up to, I don't even know how many, but year over year, we did see a 38% increase in our technology startups. Very exciting. And that was 21. We're still waiting for the 22 results. We're expecting something very similar. Loop 303, when that was completed, and just how quickly that brought in new business and new industry. And the Loop 202, at least the portion that is in the West Valley before it curves, that's all sold out. It's still, a lot of it is still being developed, but it's all sold out. So the West Valley Pipeline strategy did have an impact on growing our economic base. And then just the buy-in from our partners. When I go out and I talk to our education partners, when I talk to our workforce development partners, they come prepared to talk to me in the voice, the language of West Valley Pipeline. So they said, Kevin, here are the 9 strategies, and here's how we're fulfilling those strategies. And before I even asked the question. So the partners have all bought in, and they're all on the same page. But I think the most exciting part for me about the success of West Valley Pipeline is just the collaborative nature of the West Valley itself. All of the stakeholders, including our electeds, our economic development partners, everybody is on the same page. They each have their own individual cities and the issues and agendas that they need to meet for their own constituents. But on a larger scale, extremely collaborative, extremely willing to share the limelight, extremely willing to say this is not a good fit for us, but maybe it is for my neighbor city, and sharing that information. And it's like something that I've never seen before. And when I talk to other people, they say the same thing. So West Valley Pipeline, I believe, has been very, very successful over the last 5 years.
Big thank you, Kevin. And you mentioned collaboration is a big part of this, the excitement about this. So the perfect transition to Dr. Sandrin. So a quick Serrato family flex here. So my dad graduated from ASU in '89, again in '93. My mom graduated with her nursing degree from ASU in 2007. And I graduated with my master's degree in 2020.
Wonderful.
And we are 3 of 8 Serratos graduating from ASU. And I mentioned this to you because last month we were at a graduation for the 8th Serrato family member graduating from the West Campus. And we were just marveling at the fact that from '89, my dad graduated, to myself, that immense growth that you're seeing just on the campus, each of the campuses.
Yes.
So I have you here.
Yes.
Give me the lowdown. Give me what is new. What is most recently happening at the ASU West?
Absolutely, Lauren. Thank you so much. And hopefully we still can do good levels of pitchforks and
Yeah.
absolutely forks up. And you put it very well. We are growing rapidly. And so I'm thrilled to share with you what is new, the ways in which we're partnering and advancing economic development here in the West Valley, sharing in wins, advancing wins, and engaging challenges as we go forward. Really what you mentioned, Lauren, about it's more and more, it's bigger and bigger, really comes back to the reason why we exist at ASU. Some say mission, some say vision. We say above that, what is our reason for existence? And it's our charter. And there's really 2 key pieces to what I have on screen here. But the first one speaks to exactly what you have witnessed over 8 Serratos becoming Sun Devils. And that is, we are measured not by whom we exclude. There are many universities who say this is only for a really small set of people, often those who come from families with multi-generational college experience. We say, when the West Valley needs this, we build this for everyone. And so the increasing numbers of graduates you've seen, that's real, that's part of who we are. That is us measuring ourselves by whom we include and how they succeed. And so just in fact, about a month ago, you may have seen some of this. These are just some of my favorite pictures of some of those thousands of graduates. Last May, we celebrated the graduation of more than 20,000 new Sun Devils just in one academic year alone. We are the largest public university of higher education, of course, in the nation and the most innovative. And so on the west side, we also celebrated. These are our West Campus graduates. This is a celebration with about 6,000 or 7,000 graduates and their family members. In fact, celebrating just a month ago. For those of you who might not be aware, I said West Campus when I introduced myself. If you haven't been to West Campus in a while or ever, please come by and check it out. If you're like, what is this guy in the maroon and gold tie talking about? What is West Campus? This is where it's located over here on the west side. And as vice provost, I may be a little bit biased, but it is one of our most beautiful campuses in the Fort Metropolitan Phoenix campus enterprise that we operate. These are just a few of my favorite pictures, if you will. But what are we offering on the west side? It is a beautiful, idyllic campus. Some say it is a smaller campus. It is in footprint, but we do occupy about 300 acres. And we are serving, as you'll see, an increasing number of students, delivering an increasing number of degrees. In the past several years alone, thinking about workforce needs, we said the degrees we're offering 10 years ago, 15 years ago, those are great, but that's not enough. We need to level up. And so we increased the number of degrees we offer at West by more than 130% to include things like cybersecurity, business, health, global management, disability studies, arts and performance, to name just a few. There are 7 colleges, soon to be 8. I'll share that with you, spoiler alert here later. 7 currently, soon to be 8 this fall, colleges offering in-demand workforce producing degree programs at West Campus. Thunderbird School of Global Management, their undergraduate programs are exclusively at West Campus. I also have the privilege of serving as dean of this thing that we call the New College of Interdisciplinary Arts, which includes areas and degrees in forensic psychology, pharmacology, biotechnology, and arts and performance. We are delivering in terms of healthcare workforce. Our College of Health Solutions and our college, Edson College of Nursing and Health Innovation, also operates at the West Campus. You might have heard it before. You might have seen it on a bus. You might have seen it at a graduation. We remain, as ranked by U.S. News and World Report, the most innovative university in the nation, 8 years in a row. For those of you counting, that's every single year U.S. News has made that award. So we are indeed the birthplace of a new higher education model. But Lauren, it's not only about the graduates. That is the why we exist, absolutely. But there's another reason that as a university, we think of ourselves perhaps as a little differently than other universities. Many universities stop what I just said. We produce graduates and they do great work, and that's fantastic. We do that. But we take it one level further, and I think it aligns very well with what Kevin just underscored in terms of economic development. That is, we as a university, the last part of this charter says we assume fundamental responsibility. Now, those are words we don't take lightly. That means we hold us accountable. We assume responsibility for the economic, social, cultural, and overall health of the communities that it serves. What does that mean? That means that we regard ourselves as in the heart of innovation in the West Valley, in partnership with Westmark area businesses and others. We recognize that the West Valley, where we're sitting today, it has changed dramatically in the last 40 years. We'll celebrate at West Campus our 40-year anniversary. 84 was a long time ago. This population on the west side has more than doubled, as Kevin knows the data well. We know, too, going forward, that this area will generate more than 50% of Maricopa County's future growth. We also know that this part of Maricopa County is growing significantly faster than overall Maricopa County. So the demand for us to advance on that charter of the health, overall economic health, and otherwise for the Valley is really, really felt by us, really resonating with our charter. So much so that we said, what do we need to do as a campus? What do we need to do as a university to really take this to the next level? What is the starting pistol we need to fire to say the West Valley has moved, it has grown, and it's about to explode even further? How do we prepare? How do we create workforce? And so we launched on March 29th an initiative called West Valley Forward. We invited a few neighbors to the beautiful West Campus. By a few neighbors, I mean about 2,000 community members to our beautiful campus to have lunch and to learn about what we are doing to launch a new set of initiatives, a new set of buildings, physical infrastructure, and schools to prepare for this dynamic era of change and growth. And so you might see some familiar faces here, including Mayor Kate Gallego, Governor Katie Hobbs, President Crow, Bridget Penley, and our own provost. And you might even see some well-known Westmark figures here, too, including our own CEO here at Westmark, Sintra Hoffman. As I mentioned, we're doing a lot of infrastructure investment. We're investing almost $100 million in West Campus in the next couple of years to build out our third and largest ever residence hall, or dorm, as we often say, 507 beds, opening in fall 24, just barely over 1 year from now, and a new 55,000 square feet state-of-the-art academic building to house some of these exciting programs that you'll hear me talk briefly about. These are just mock-ups of what the buildings will look like on our campus. This is me driving by a couple days ago to show you it's going vertical right now, actually. So it will be done, but it's not just about the buildings. It's about what are the workforce producing degrees in schools that we are going to bring out. President Crow has recognized business as usual will not work. It's not just here's the degrees we've had for the last several decades. Let's go with those. It's what does the world need now? And so that means bringing up WP Carey, top ranked business school in the nation, bringing out building an entirely new and exclusive to the West Valley and to the West Campus School called the School of Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship with a focus on small business development and small business resources. The 8th school that I mentioned that's going to come to West Campus, the 8th college, will be the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering, bringing an ultra flexible, adaptive, new engineering degree that you've heard perhaps 10 miles up the road from West Campus is something called the TSMC Semiconductor Manufacturing Facility. We think we might need to be producing some workforce there. And so think about what would microelectronics as a flavor of engineering look like with engineering. Think about business engineering. Think about forensic engineering as we'll be launching an exciting new school in interdisciplinary forensics. And that excites me. But I think if we think about where the West Valley is growing and we think about who is in the West Valley, we know that many individuals already have degrees. Others don't have the ability, necessarily time, what have you, to do a full 4-year degree. In the past, it used to be that universities would say, well, we have this new thing that you should learn. And if you can't join us, too bad. We are not doing that at ASU. Instead, we're doing something kind of radically different. We are effectively fully taking down the force fields, if you will, any protection we had, if you will, of our academic assets in a way that we are going to leverage them to do workforce development. So if you're a small business owner, want to learn something about cybersecurity, it'd be wonderful if you want to get a college degree in that. That's great. We have those. But we also have boot camps, for example, where we can leverage some of our expertise so that you can learn some of this. More broadly, this is our response in part to the fact that 84% of Americans have recently been shown to or found in a survey to indicate they don't believe they have a chance to improve their standard of living. We think we can help change that. We think we can increase optimism, if you will, even in spite of the fact that with automation, with AI, with disruptive technologies, that while these might change workforce dynamics significantly, there's opportunity to leverage in a positive way those things. We also know skills are changing dynamically too. At best, the half-life of skills these days are 5 years. Technical skills, maybe 2.5 if we're lucky. So how do we provide for the community these types of skills? We have the degrees at the university, but we also have these opportunities that we recognize that today's learners are very diverse. They are traditional learners, like my son who will start college in a month or two, but they are also frontline workers, recent retirees, military service members, executives who need leadership training and development, or again, a recent college graduate who got a degree or two and wants to brush up here too. This is what we call at ASU the learning enterprise. It is alive and well. At the West Campus, it's beyond just academic degrees, things that we call career catalyst, again, boot camps and everything from financial tech to coding to AI to communication skills and leadership and organizational management opportunities across the campus. In a nutshell, if you have, please come over to West and check it out. I'm happy to give anyone a personal tour of the campus. We also have year-round events that I can share with KJ and others, links to calendars showing those. It's a great opportunity just to see the campus, to hang out, to have fun, and to see what we're doing, what we call West Valley Forwards. Thank you, Lauren.
First. Now, as a follow-up, you mentioned that event that was in March. I was in attendance. I showed up 20 minutes early thinking I'm going to get a great seat up front. I went with Kevin. I was standing way in the back by the grass. It's like, this is amazing to see so many people invested in the growth of the West Valley and ASU specifically. You mentioned that you had such a great turnout. So it's one thing to be at these events, to be at these webinars, but in addition to that, what can West Valley residents do to be part of that workforce development?
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic question. And so with so many West Valley residents, with so many small businesses, so many large businesses in the West Valley, so many businesses coming, as we produce workforce, one incredible opportunity I think we have collaboratively is to think about how we train our own graduates. Because at ASU, as you know, and many of your relatives know, we teach in the classroom, certainly, but we believe in teaching far beyond the boundaries of the classroom. And what we mean by that is learn by doing, also, not just by listening. And so nearly every one of our majors at ASU at our West Campus has some type of practical learning experience, whether it's what we call a capstone in academics or more traditionally an internship. And so if there are audience members here who are business owners and say, I would love to have the opportunity to engage with an ASU student studying fill in the blank, statistics, data science, because I've got a problem in my business with fill in the blank, we can do that. We can partner our students, soon to be graduates, with area businesses for a true win-win. I might even say win-win-win. Win for the students, certainly in terms of experience. Win for the business in terms of a business solution. Win for the West Valley too. Because many of these students not only solve incredible real-world problems for our community members, this also leads to workforce and pipeline production, such that many of our Sun Devils become employees at this very same company. So if you're interested in internships, please connect with me and we can discuss logistics too.
Excellent. And you mentioned, I want to pinpoint something you said, win for the West Valley. It's great that 8 Seratos have been to ASU and graduated, but that's not the case for everyone. Not everyone goes to ASU to get that education. How exactly do our West Valley residents benefit from something like West Valley Forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So the campus is there not only for degrees, but also the events, the cultural events, the community connections as a place to gather, a place to connect. And also in terms of not only events and celebrations, but resources in terms of that learning enterprise I mentioned. So even if you are not engaged in getting a full degree, what piece of what we offer might be valuable to you as a community member as you lead, launch, build, grow your small business, as you think about even challenges you might face in your own family? Are there resources that we offer, as we offer more than 120 degrees from everything from psychology to business to history, that we have resources at multiple points of connection for our communities?
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Sandrin. Now we talk about growth in the West Valley. Now, Ken, not to discount Avondale. I was actually born and raised in Avondale. Connection to everyone here, guys. This is all inclusive. So we talk about Avondale and its growth. So how exactly, like ASU being part of the workforce development in the West Valley, how has Avondale, from a city perspective, been able to do the same?
So that's a great question, a great little segue here into where we're going here. So a few years ago, the communities were given an opportunity to deploy some ARPA dollars, American Rescue Plan dollars. As these grant dollars came in, as money came in, we found ourselves trying to brainstorm about how to creatively use them in a way that would directly impact residents. So we looked at it. So we did a lot of best practices. We talked with our colleagues throughout the state, throughout the country, and we started seeing what they were doing. And this idea was, what if we just took some of those dollars and we started to deploy them in strategic ways to create it's a workforce life cycle that's going to directly benefit industries in Avondale that have been affected by the pandemic, but also create a path forward for some of our residents that may not have had that opportunity, and really try to remove as much friction as possible between the people that are either just graduating college, or that are just graduating high school, they're going through a career change, and those employers that are saying, you know what, I need to upskill employees, I need a value add from my employees because I'm having trouble retaining people. You know, you come work for me, then you can go to EMCC for free. Okay, so it was kind of a win-win for us. So we developed a great partnership with the people over here at String Mountain Community College. And about 2 years ago, we announced the Culinary Arts and the Nursing Scholarship Program, the Culinary Arts and Nursing Scholarship Program. It allows students to apply for the applied associate's degree, as well as a certificate of completion in both those fields. I'll go down the list here really quick. We've allocated about $430,000 from our ARPA funds over 3 years to fund these scholarships. We've had about 108 people already go through the program. We had 50 new students just sign up in spring of 2023. And it's targeting really the demographic we're working at. Avondale is a minority majority community. We're very proud of that. We're excited to say that a majority of those scholarships, about 90% of those scholarships, are being allocated to students that identify as a minority group, primarily Hispanic. A majority of the scholarships going to female students, it's students that identify as female. So those are really hitting those, it's those demographics that we, again, really resonate and reflect what Avondale is. But also offers that quick path forward. So we have residents that are able to now participate in the economy, in industries that were hurt as the pandemic. Actually, I'm gonna go back to this slide real quick. I blew over a slide that's really. We in order to do this, we actually had a lot of partnerships. I mean, go down the list here. We worked very closely with Australian Mountain Community Colleges. We worked very closely with the West Bank and the local high schools. So we're meeting with career counselors in the high schools around Avondale. Broadcasts out to all of our Westmark committees and the Westmark Healthcare Summit. A lot of marketing went into this thing. And as I said, it's a closed loop because another piece of this actually went into our relationship with a group called Career Connectors. So as we put our job fairs on each quarter, we're funneling in students to Avondale as businesses that went through this program. And again, it's creating more of an exposed workforce there. The top photo there is actually a gentleman by the name of Rich Elwell with Maze Fine Food. He has one or two employees that are coming with the program right now. If you've not had a chance to go to Maze Fine Foods, it's a little plug here for Maze Fine Food. You're gonna head down there and check it out. He has some great stuff. Bonbons and it's these macarons. So before the scholarships go over, you get assistance with your tuition, books, and your uniforms. We create a variety of partnerships there, and it goes back into that idea of what holistic economic development is. It's not just job recruitment. It's not just it's your BRNE. It's developing that workforce pipeline so that even though we may not get the TSMC, or we may not get it's the restaurant or the healthcare as provider in the community next to us, we can develop a workforce pipeline so Avondalers are benefiting from those jobs and able to participate in those jobs. A side value of that as well, it creates these thought partnerships and these opportunities for entrepreneurism, which you see in some larger industries. So one reason when you look at San Diego, Southern California, why it's such a bioscience hub is because you have all these people working in the field that are coming out of college and they develop these relationships with each other. And they start to get new better ways to do things. That doesn't just happen in the scientific fields. That happens in all industries. So when we bring more people together that are working in the culinary fields and the healthcare fields, it allows them to say, hey, I can do this better. I can go off and I can start my own company. And really, at the end of the day, entrepreneurism is going to be the next focus for all economic developers in the Valley. I already stated some of these numbers before. We have 108 students that have either gone through it or graduated, or have gone through it and or are currently enrolled. Again, first generation college students, and here's how we disperse the money: $110,000, 160. After the ARPA money runs out, we're going to be continuing to invest in this program, expanding it into other fields. To again help Avondale residents is participate in the economy, go out and gain employment in our surrounding areas, and again just provide a lot of value for our residents. That's what this is about. It's a pretty quick slideshow. Our whole goal really was to create a simple program that was going to get the most exposure, and we've been very, very successful in it. Our partners over at the MCC Foundation have been great. We typically, when the program opens up each semester, it fills up right away, which is, again, is good metrics for us. And we're looking forward to continuing that and expanding it. Just really finding different ways to be successful and provide value for our community.
Thank you, Ken. Now, this is the perfect example as to how cities are doing their part to fuel and thrive workforce development in the West Valley. Now, tell me why something like this, a partnership, a program like this, is important and vital for cities to do. And second to that, why did Avondale feel the need to see this come to fruition?
So workforce development, and it's no offense, Kevin, I love you, man, but workforce development is not always the sexiest part of economics. It's just not. But the truth of the matter is it fuels everything else. There's a long-standing kind of philosophy in economic development. When you have a strong workforce, when you have a strong skilled pipeline, it's pipeline of labor. All of a sudden, you find that incentives aren't needed as much. all of a sudden you find that these outside value adds aren't needed as much. Companies flourish where the skilled labor exists. So by investing in the pipeline, you're investing in Arizonans, you're investing in your residents that can participate in those programs and create those ecosystems of labor and of entrepreneurism. And that's just done in a very, very ground root up. It's a way. I mean, it's the most beneficial way to do it. For us, Avondale's household incomes are rising each year. Our unemployment levels are decreasing each year, but we still have pockets of those cycles of poverty. And typically, when you look across the board, people that are coming from those areas, healthcare and culinary arts are two of the most attainable pathways forward to start achieving income and to start making higher wages. That's why we picked these two. These are the easiest paths forward for a lot of people that maybe don't know what to do to get out of high school. If you look at the numbers again, with our demographics, majority of the people that are taking advantage of this, they're not just minority, they're between the ages of 17 and 34. If you look at culinary, it's between 17 and 24 years old. So we're looking at young people that are coming out looking for different pathways that are really looking to do something different, make some income, and again, hopefully turn into those entrepreneurs that are involved in small businesses.
Right. And then a follow-up to something that you mentioned earlier that I found really interesting, retention. We talk about workforce development and these young, talented students getting involved in programs like this, going to ASU, but it's another thing to get them set up for success and keeping them here in the West Valley. How does a program like this and your work as economic development director really play a part in keeping that young talent here in the West Valley?
And it all plays into each other. You have, when you have the workforce here, it's going to create an opportunity for more companies to locate or to expand. When you have the workforce here and they're working together, they're creating those thought partnerships, and they're spinning off their own companies. They're spinning off their own businesses from that. And what it does is it creates a hub of talent that's going to attract more and more people. It's going to create more and more wealth building throughout the entire region. And it really sets the West Valley, the region, apart from other places, because now we're creating our own destiny, and it's coming from the roots up. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's what economic development is about. It's really about finding ways to create opportunities for our public, for our residents, for our community to be successful, and identify pathways for them to be able to participate in their economy and that success.
Perfect. And then you mentioned numbers of the success of the program from last year and this year. Dare I ask, what is next? You mentioned that the funds stop at the year 3. So what happens next for a program like this?
We're identifying right now. I mean, so the nursing and the culinary, I don't see that going anywhere. I see us continuing to invest in that. We're looking at some of the programs again to increase it to increase that exposure. We're going through it's the conversation with the MCC right now about which programs make the most sense. But workforce development, that's going to be a cornerstone of what Avondale does from now on, as far as economic development. It is a priority for us. It's a priority for our council. It's a priority for our management team, our city leadership, and it's a priority for my department. And it's going to be fun. We're going to be doing some cool stuff ahead.
I love that. One last question for you. So we talk about Westmark being 15 communities, one voice. Avondale obviously has Avondale Pride, but this is really a model to other cities to see the success that can come out of it. What would be that message for other cities? Because essentially a success for Avondale is a success for the West Valley. So seeing this go out to other cities, what would be a message to surrounding neighboring cities to do something like this?
You know, it's not just Avondale cities. We're actually starting to see it throughout the entire country as well. But be elastic, be open-minded when it comes to economic development. There's not one way to be successful here. You have to think about up and down the chain, who benefits from it, how they benefit, and how to create opportunities beyond just being transactional. And I think if we incorporate that into our thought process, incorporate that into how we pursue wins at the end of the day, I think we're gonna come up with some really creative solutions. I know that some other communities, Surprise is doing something very similar with the MCC, and they're going after some different industries than us, and that's great. I mean, I have a lot of love for my friends up there. But really, don't be shy about challenging where those boundaries are, and really be thoughtful and creative and be innovative about how we do things. That's how we're gonna be successful. That's how we're gonna win.
Love that. I love that you mentioned wins. We talk about wins for Avondale, obvious wins for ASU. Kevin, I turn it back to you. I'm going to pass this down. What are the wins for West Valley Pipeline?
Sure. Before I answer that, though, I want to go back to the comment Ken made. Workforce development may not be the sexy part of economic development, but when I hear the passion as you describe your program and the 108 lives that are changed as a result of the program that you put together, the 20,000 graduates through ASU, ultimately, workforce development is about people. How are we helping people? And I remind myself of that every day. 90% of the work that I do is with businesses, but it's always with the end of how can we help the people, the residents of our communities to move their lives forward. So I really applaud what City of Avondale is doing. I absolutely applaud what Arizona State University is doing. But from my perspective, some recent wins that I want to talk about for West Valley Pipeline. The first one, and maybe a little bit self-serving, but Westmark created a position for the Director of Regional Workforce Development, which did not exist before. They actually created it 53 weeks ago. I'm in year 1 and 1 week in the position. So very excited about that. I will say that the position was created because there's a need now to move beyond just coordinating West Valley Pipeline the strategies and into implementation of the rest of the strategy. So the position was created. I was available. I knew the strategy. It was a good marriage of the two. So I feel very fortunate and very happy with that decision. Thank you, Westmark. One of the first things that I did was to convene a West Valley workforce work group. I'm into alliteration, so I like that. But it's a work group of economic development and workforce development that meets together regularly, partly as a quasi-advisory group. Hey, here's what I'm thinking. Does this make sense? But partly so that they talk to each other. Because one of the challenges that I hear from businesses is that we have a very large and disconnected workforce development ecosystem where we have multiple partners, very well intentioned with fantastic programs, all going after the same companies. And the companies are fielding calls all day long and answering the same questions with multiple agencies. Is there an opportunity to combine our services, combine our resources, and put together a package that we can go to a company with and cut down on the number of individual calls and actually move the needle a little bit further than any one organization can do themselves. So I have a workforce work group. We're already on the slide, the next slide. So the other thing, and another thing that we've done is convene a series of industry employer collaborative discussions, because I started the conversation, nothing in workforce development works unless business is at the table and business has an opportunity to drive their own solutions. So it makes sense, let's ask them. What would be the solutions to the challenges that you're facing? So on a regular basis, we actually have one scheduled for tomorrow, another meeting with manufacturing companies in the West Valley. Later in the year, we'll concentrate more on healthcare companies. We have one coming up with retail and hospitality companies. And at the end of the year, we have one scheduled for aerospace and aviation companies. What are your workforce challenges and what would you say would be the ideal solutions to those challenges? Once we hear that, then we can go to an ASU and say, they don't need degree programs, or they have some degree positions, but they need more boot camp style trainings, because it's something that ASU can put together or Estrella Mountain Community College can put together. Is there an opportunity to help support students as they go through scholarship programs or through the public workforce programs? How can we help meet the needs of businesses, and businesses come up with their own solutions? Another thing that we started this year is what we call the Workforce Success Series. And this is an opportunity for businesses to showcase the successes that they've had in talent attraction and or talent retention by engaging with some of the programs that already exist. So showcasing both sides, the business success and the agencies and the services that help them have that success. So we've had one with a customized training at the beginning of the year with Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, for example, and the Quick Start Boot Camp through the community college program as an example for other businesses to say, well, maybe that would work for me too. We've had one recently on just what are the benefits that a company can offer, some at a cost, some at very little cost. It just takes a little bit of time and effort that would encourage candidates to apply and, more importantly, to stay with the company. The one that we have coming up in July 19th, is all about the experiential learning. So Dr. Sandrin talked about the internship programs that are available through Arizona State, but there are also apprenticeship programs, other on-the-job training type programs. So showcasing businesses who are taking advantage of that and how easy it is, or what are the challenges? What do businesses need to know walking into one of these programs in order for it to be successful? So that'll be on July 19th. We encourage everyone in the audience to register for that. And then trying to advance. Whoops, advance too far. And this one I'm really excited about. The Westmark Workforce webpage, I have to be honest, when I came in was a little bit lacking in services and resources. So we put a lot of effort into updating the workforce webpage. And one of the things, the keystone of this page is a business resource guide. This is an ongoing project. I heard about 2 new services just this morning that I need to vet and see if they would be included on the updated resource guide. But if a business wants to post a job, where would they go? If a business wants to have an apprenticeship program, how do they do that? Where do they go? If a business wants to take advantage of the work opportunity tax credit, where would they go? If I'm a small business, how do I connect with City of Avondale and the other cities? Well, there's a link directly from this page. So very excited about this business resource guide. Those are some of the things that have been accomplished over the last 53 weeks.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin. Now I hit both Dr. Sandrin and Ken with the hard-hitting questions of what's next. So I do the same with you. What is next as we're in year 5 of 5? What is next for West Valley Pipeline?
I'm trying to advance again, but I'll just talk to it. So workforce development is not done, right? You're never at a point where you say, okay, we can go home now and everything's finished. We always knew that at the end of year 5, we would have to go into the next iteration, what's 2.0. So right now, actively this week and next week, I am engaging in a number of group conversations with various stakeholders about what should be included in the next iteration of West Valley Pipeline, and getting their input, getting their feedback. I have a survey monkey that I created. It's a lot of open-ended questions. It takes someone, if they go through all the questions, it'll probably take them 20, 25 minutes. And I apologize in advance to everyone who tries to take the survey, but it's extremely valuable that we have that data, that we have that input from our constituents, our cities, our economic developers, our businesses, education, workforce. We invite all of them to participate in these discussions or participate in the survey so that we know what they're hearing, what they're thinking, and where they see the West Valley moving over the next 5 years. When we did the version 1.0, we hired a consultant. Now we have me, who's been a part of the West Valley Pipeline since day 2. Missed the first meeting, but every meeting since then. And then ultimately, we're going to put together a strategy. We're going to rewrite the strategy. It's going to be however many pages it is. We will vet this strategy with key stakeholders in the West Valley. Does this make sense? Is there anything missing? Just a high level at that. They say, yes, this is exactly what we wanted. Then we will send this to the Westmark Board of Directors. for their approval. They approved the version 1, they need to approve the version 2. We have a timeline where all of this will happen through the fall. And ultimately, the goal or the plan is to roll out version 2 of the West Valley Pipeline at the Workforce Development Summit that we have scheduled for December 5th. It'll be held at Arizona State University. Thank you, Dr. Sander, for opening the doors for us. We will invite anyone who wants to attend and see what that rollout is and what's included, and more importantly, how they can connect with the strategy, where they fit in, and how the strategy hopefully would benefit them as well, either as a provider or as a business.
Great, thank you, Kevin. Now, gentlemen, the title of our webinar today was West Valley Workforce Wins, Next Step, and Ongoing Collaboration. Now, all 3 programs, evident wins. Clearly, there are steps of what's going to happen next. So I ask each of you if you have any closing statements or anything that you'd like to leave our audience with. I would love to hear from you.
Starting with me.
I would love to hear from you.
Okay. I will say that through my career, collaboration has been the cornerstone of my entire career and the cornerstone of my success. So I have a number of partners that I rely on, but I'm always looking for more and always interested in talking with more people, from different aspects. So if you touch workforce development at all, either because you're a business and you hire people, or you're a service provider, you're an education provider, you're a commercial broker, bringing in businesses, certainly our economic development partners who I talk to quite a bit. But if I've not reached out to you, shame on me, my apologies. I would invite you, please reach out to me. I would love to have a conversation with you. I'd love to collaborate with you to see how we can benefit you and what you're trying to accomplish, and little self-serving, how you can get connected into this larger collaborative workforce development initiative that we have going on in the West Valley.
I would echo what Kevin and both said in different regards. Kevin, you mentioned workforce is never done. And at ASU, this is our mantra too. We are never done. It's never, we built all the perfect degrees and now it shall forever be enough. It is not, to be frank. And so we look forward to partnering, to collaborating, to building what we haven't built yet, to building what we don't know we need to build just yet. The other piece that, Kim, that you mentioned, you said, this is about creating new futures, creating a future of our own making. And at ASU, that is very core to what we talk about doing. It's what we aspire to be a model for a new American university. When we think about those we serve locally, fundamental responsibility for the communities we serve, creating that new future means we haven't done this. We don't know the playbook necessarily unless we connect, unless we collaborate, unless the community tells us this is something we need you might not have seen. And can we do something entirely new? When we say most innovative university in the nation for 8 years in a row, a lot of people say, what does that mean? And one way we measure that is, I can't remember the last time at ASU, I had a conversation with someone who said, we can't do that because we tried it before and didn't. It's tell me more. How do we build what the West Valley needs now, what workforce needs now, So I look forward to collaborating with our community members, with Westmark, as we continue to do.
Thank you. And again, I echo what everybody's already said so far. Just what I would say is, from a community standpoint, look for those collaborative efforts, for those partnerships. We're going to be doing some new stuff, not just, I'm not just talking about Avondale, but I'm talking about the entire region as we enter into this new economy that's been growing over the past 12 years. I mean, ever since 2008, the state alone has gone through a lot of changes, and we're in a much better place than we were back then. That's going to continue to evolve. The needs of the workforce, the needs of the companies, the needs of the educational institutions, and everybody that participates in that across the spectrum are all going to evolve along with it. Keep those collaborative efforts going. Keep those thought partnerships going, because we're going to be doing stuff that nobody's ever done before, and we can't be afraid of that. Embrace it, run it.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Well, we reached the end of our time. I want to take this moment to thank our panelists for your amazing conversation, presentations. And I want to thank our audience. Thank you for being tuned in and for your continued support of the West Valley, and for tuning in for my moderating debut. I hope to see you next time. Thank you.